back to my another video. You are watching now Sci-Fi Stories HFY YouTube channel. Please subscribe, hit the bell icon for my latest videos on my YouTube channel. Like, share and subscribe. See you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.
The Vorkai had been cataloging species for 11,000 years. They were meticulous about it. Every sentient civilization encountered received a threat assessment, a biological dossier, and a standing recommendation from the High Conclave: engage, trade, observe, or avoid. Of the 412 species currently on record, only 9 had ever earned the designation avoid. Most were avoided because they were territorial. 2 were avoided because their biochemistry was lethally incompatible with carbon-based contact. 1, the Grathani, was avoided because they had a habit of eating ambassadors. Humanity was the 413th entry. Fleet Admiral Sorvakhtez pressed 3 of her 6 fingers together in the gesture her species used for unease as she read through the preliminary report submitted by the survey vessel Unbroken Tide. The crew had made contact with the humans approximately 6 months ago by the local stellar calendar. The contact itself had gone smoothly. The humans were surprisingly eager to communicate, had adapted to the translation matrices with unsettling speed, and had offered food within the first 4 minutes of meeting, which the xenopsychologists were still arguing about. The threat assessment, however, was giving Sorvakhtez a headache behind all 4 of her eyes. She called in her chief analyst, a young male named Drev who wore his scales the way ambitious Vorkai always did, polished to a high shine. "Walk me through the biological profile," the Admiral said. Drev straightened. "Certainly, Admiral. Humans are bipedal mammals originating from a Class M terrestrial world they call Earth. Average height roughly equivalent to a young Vorkai. No natural armor. No venom. No claws of appreciable threat. No echolocation, no electromagnetic sense, no thermal vision. Their eyesight is mediocre by galactic standards. They can only perceive a narrow band of the electromagnetic spectrum. Their hearing range is unimpressive. Their olfactory sense is so limited that several of our crew members initially thought the humans were missing a sensory organ entirely. And their planet? Drev hesitated. That hesitation told Sorvakhtez more than the next 10 minutes of his briefing would. Their planet, he said carefully, is what our xenobiologists are calling a Category 7 stress environment. Explain. Gravity is slightly above galactic average, not dramatically so, but enough that most species would find extended surface time fatiguing. The atmosphere has a high oxygen content, which accelerates cellular aging in prolonged exposure. The temperature variance across the planet's surface is extreme. Some regions reach temperatures that would kill an unprotected Vorkai in minutes, while others remain so cold that moisture freezes solid and stays that way for months at a time. The planet has a single large moon that creates significant tidal activity. Tectonic instability is frequent. Roughly 70% of the surface is covered in deep-water oceanic systems containing predators that, even by galactic standards, are considered aggressive and large. Sorvakhtez stared at him. And the humans live there. The humans evolved there, Admiral. They don't just live there, they appear to thrive. They have settlements on every continent, including the frozen poles. Their early civilizations were built in floodplains, in deserts, on the slopes of active volcanoes. They farm coastal regions where those large predators are present in the shallow water. They climb the tallest geological formations on their planet recreationally. For leisure. There was a long pause. "Continue," Sorvakhtez said. "The more troubling portion of the assessment concerns their physiology under stress. Humans have an adrenal system that, when activated, temporarily suppresses their pain response, increases cardiovascular output dramatically, and alters their cognitive pattern toward what we might describe as focused irrationality. They become, in crisis scenarios, substantially more capable than their baseline measurements suggest. Several of our observers noted that in controlled emergency simulations run during the initial contact period, human reaction times improved by an average of 40%, and 2 individuals performed feats of physical exertion that should have caused significant muscular damage, and did, in fact, cause damage that the humans simply did not stop to address. They injured themselves and kept going? They described the experience as not that bad and worth it. One of them, upon being told that he had torn a ligament in his shoulder during the simulation, said, and I am quoting the translation directly, "Yeah, I figured. It'll be fine." Sorvoctes pressed all 6 fingers together now. Drev pulled up another section of his report. The holographic display filled with charts, evolutionary timelines, and fossil records that the humans had generously shared with the survey team. Their evolutionary history is perhaps the most illuminating piece, Drev said. Roughly 2 million years ago, their ancestors were prey animals on the African continent, a region of their primary landmass. They had no particular physical advantage. Other predators on their world, large feline species, canid packs, reptilian megafauna in earlier epochs, were faster, stronger, better armed. The humans' ancestors survived through what biologists call persistence hunting. Explain, the Admiral said again, though her tone had shifted. She was no longer asking out of bureaucratic thoroughness. She was asking because something in Drev's voice had changed. They chased things, Drev said. They couldn't outrun their prey. So they didn't try. They simply followed. Humans are among the best long-distance runners on their planet. Their bipedal gait is unusually efficient for endurance. They can regulate their body temperature through sweating, which most of their prey animals could not do as effectively. So they would chase an animal, sometimes for hours, sometimes for most of a day, over terrain, in heat, until the prey animal's body gave out from thermal exhaustion. And then they would eat it. The briefing room was quiet. They ran things to death, Sorvoctes said. Yes, Admiral. For food. For survival, initially. Eventually, yes, for food. The behavior is so deeply embedded in their psychology that they continue to do it recreationally. They organize events where large numbers of humans travel to a location and run vast distances, sometimes over 40 kilometers, for no practical reason whatsoever other than to finish. When asked why, the most common response involves a concept that translates approximately to see if I can. What is their current technological level? She asked. Early interstellar. They achieved faster-than-light travel approximately 60 years ago by their calendar. Prior to that, within the last 200 years, they went from animal-drawn transportation to orbital spaceflight. For reference, that transition took the Vorkai 1100 years. Drev turned off a portion of the display. They also fought 2 global wars during that period. With primitive weapons by our standards, they inflicted casualties numbering in the tens of millions. Then they stopped, rebuilt their civilizations largely from rubble, and began reaching for space within 2 generations. Sorvoctes was quiet for a long time. The threat assessment form sat on her desk, waiting to be completed. There were 4 options, as there always were: engage, trade, observe, or avoid. She thought about the persistence hunters. She thought about the men and women who tore ligaments and said it would be fine. She thought about civilizations rebuilt from rubble within 2 generations, and mountains climbed for fun, and animals chased to exhaustion across open plains by creatures with no claws, no shells, no venom, creatures that just kept going. She thought about what it meant that the most dangerous thing about humanity was not anything they had been given. It was something they had simply refused to stop doing. What is the recommendation from the survey team? She asked at last. Drev's polished scales caught the light as he straightened. The survey team is divided, Admiral. Half recommend engagement. They argue that humans are scientifically curious, socially cooperative under the right conditions, and that early diplomatic investment could yield significant long-term benefits. Their creativity index scores are among the highest we've ever recorded. Their cultural output alone would be of enormous academic interest. And the other half? Drev set his data pad down. The other half reviewed the complete biological and historical profile and submitted a single recommendation. Which is, make friends with them before something frightens them. Sorvoctes looked at the form. She looked at the stars. She thought about a world with constant tectonic instability and deep oceans full of predators, where something had climbed down from the trees with no armor and no poison and no particularly impressive teeth, and had decided that the solution to being prey was to simply never, ever stop. She picked up her stylus. She marked engage. Then, after a moment, she added a note in the margin, unofficial, unprompted, something that would not appear in the formal report or the conclave's archives. They are not dangerous because of what they can do. They are dangerous because they do not appear to understand that they should have limits. Handle accordingly. And whatever you do not give them a reason to chase you. She set the stylus down. Somewhere across the vast, patient dark, on a pale blue world wrapped in a thin shell of breathable air and improbable life, 8 billion persistence hunters were looking up at the stars. And wondering what was out there. And deciding, as they always had, to go find out.